Hello and welcome to episode 129. Yeah, 129 of the Giddy Knits podcast. Today is Wednesday the 19th of April and as always I am Helen and I am coming to you from Dundee in Scotland where I live with my husband Tom and my two boys, Arthur who is 9 and Jasper who is 6. And this is my crafty podcast where I come to talk about whatever crafty projects I've been working on, mostly knitting, occasionally a bit of crochet, occasionally a bit of cross stitch, whatever crafts I've been working on. For anyone that is new to my channel and is just stumbling randomly across this video, I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns and yeah, I've just said that this is my crafty podcast where I talk about all my crafts. I'm feeling rusty. It's been a while. I think the last video that went up on my channel went up at the end of February, which is ridiculous because it's now the middle of April. But yeah, March got busy. I went away at the end of February, I went away to help my friend at Ravelry Festival down in Farnham in Surrey. Then I had like 3 weeks before I was vending at a yarn festival, at East Anglia Yarn Festival in Norfolk, and then there was a week and then it's been Easter holidays. So the kids have been off school and we have a lot of family visiting this month. So my parents were visiting for the first week of the Easter holidays. This week, the kids went back to school Monday this week, and this week we've got my in-laws visiting, and then I've got my aunt and uncle visiting later in April as well. They're coming over the April-May May Day bank holiday weekend. So yeah, it's been busy and it's just been, I've just not had chance to sit down and record. I've also not had a lot of knitting time, or at least it's not felt like I've had words are already failing me. At least it's felt like I've not had a lot of knitting time, so I've not really felt like I've had a lot of content to share either. But anyway, things are calming down, things are getting a bit more under control, and I'm back. So hopefully we'll get back into the nice regular schedule that I had at the beginning of this year, because that would be lovely. So what have I got for you this week? Lots. It's going to be a long episode, so if you haven't done so at this point, pause, go and make yourself a cup of tea, a drink of whatever kind you fancy. Make sure you've got your crafting project because this is going to be a long one. So first off, I've got some announcements to talk about. I've got some winners to announce for the Giddy Yarns Make-Along. Then I've got some finished objects to share. I'm going to chat about all the new samples that I had made for East Anglia Yarn Festival because there's some really great patterns that I want to share within those samples. I've then got some works in progress to talk about. Just a couple of things that I've been working on recently. I've got a couple of new cast-ons to share with you as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about all of the other podcasters that I met at East Anglia Yarn Festival. I was sponsoring the podcasting meetup and all the podcaster lanyards. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well. Hopefully introduce you to some new podcasts to watch here on YouTube. I've then got a bit of Yarny Goodness to share, and I'm going to finish up, as always, with a bit of shop news. And I'm going to talk about this year's advent calendar in there, as well as a few other things about the shop. What I will do, because there is a lot of content, and to be fair, I usually do this anyway, but just to make sure you're aware that I do this, what I will do is underneath the video in the description box, where not only will you find all the show notes and information kind of about where you can find me, but I will also do timestamps for the video for each section. So if you end up watching this video in kind of multiple sittings, you can always come back and find where you are nice and easily. Just click on the timestamp and it should take you straight to that part of the video. So yeah, I will do that. But let's start with a sip of tea because I think I'm going to need it. Let's start with announcements. So announcements. I didn't actually really plan this apart from the winners, but announcements. As always, we have a make-along that is running endlessly on my channel, everywhere on social media. I have the Giddy Yarns Make-Along, which I run continuously. Basically, any project that you're working on that uses at least 50% of my yarn, I mean, I'm not gonna make you weigh it. If it's a 2-colour project and you've used kind of roughly equal amounts of my yarn and somebody else's yarn, then that's fine. So as long as it uses roughly 50% of my yarn, then it's eligible to be entered into the make along, to be in with the chance of winning a prize. I draw prizes quarterly, and basically the prize is your choice of a skein of yarn from my shop, kind of thing, something like that. And yeah, that's it. So you can enter. Where can you enter? Here we go. I told you I was rusty. You can enter by posting in our Ravelry group, which I'm not very good at being active in, I apologise, but I do have a couple of moderators over there who do keep an eye on things, and I do check in whenever I need to for picking up prize draws and stuff like that, and there are people that chat over there. You can also enter on Instagram using the hashtag Giddy Yarns FO, and all the details are underneath the video, by the way, if I'm not explaining it very well, which is quite possible. And then finally, you can also enter in our Discord group. There is a Giddy Yarns make-along thread in the Discord group, and you just pop your photos in there when you've finished. The nice thing about the Discord one is that it allows chat, so you can pop your finished object in there and other people can comment on it and you can chat about the pattern and stuff like that. And Discord is easy enough with the way it dates things that doesn't matter. I just need to scroll back up, find the photos and work it out that way. So that's quite nice. And actually, having gone through and picked up all of the entries for this month, Discord was the most popular place where people were putting in entries. So yeah, come and join the Discord group because it's fun and I like it and I'm enjoying it. If you want to join the Discord group, there is a link underneath the video with the details of how to join it, but it's lovely. We chat about all kinds of things. That was my other announcement, really, was just a reminder about the Discord group, I think. Yeah. So, prize winners. So I have sat down this morning and I have gone through all the entries for the first quarter, so up until the end of March. I've gone through all of the entries in the thing. So basically what I do is, I shall flash this quickly. I went through and I go through Discord and I write down the names of all the entries. I go through Instagram and I write down the names of all the entries. And I go through Ravelry and I write down the names of all the entries. I take out any joint posting. Some people will have posted in all 3 places. You only really get 1 entry because I think it's fairer that way, because some people are only on Ravelry or only on Instagram. So I take out any like multiple postings, if that makes sense. And then I just do a random number generator. So as you can see, I've written them all down, numbered them, and then I go in and do random number generator and pick up 2 winners. So we had a total of 43 entries for this quarter. And our 2 winners are, the first winner was in the Discord group, and that was Ali, who is Woolly Ali, elsewhere on social media. And she crocheted a sample for me, amusingly. So it's quite lovely that you've won a prize for the sample that you crocheted. I will be showing you the sample in a little bit, but she crocheted me a Waru shawl, which is lovely. And then the second winner was in the Ravelry group, and that was Terry, who is, I'm looking over there, Sweet Bassett on Ravelry. And you had made, did I write this down? Yes, I did. You had made a lone skein shawl using one of the Beatrix Potter colourways from the club last year. So, congratulations. Get in touch with me. Ali, I have you on WhatsApp, and that's fine. I know you'll just WhatsApp me. That's not a problem. But Terry, drop me an email. If you can drop me an email, my email address is underneath the video, but it's giddyyarns@gmail.com. Nice and simple, and we'll get your prize sorted out. So yeah, thank you to everyone that's joined in and taken part. I really enjoy going and doing the prize draw because I get to go through and see all of your wonderful projects that you've made in my yarn, which is, it's nice. It's a nice feeling seeing completed projects in my yarn. Right, shall we move on to some finished objects? Despite not really feeling like I've had much knitting time, I do actually have 3 finished objects. The first one got finished just before East Anglia, and I will take the label off it because it's a sample, and it has a label on it. And actually, I feel like I will feel silly putting it on my head with the label on it, because spoiler alert, there it is a hat. I finished off my Musselburgh hat, which is a pattern by Isolde Teague, and there it is in all its glory. This is a really fun pattern if you've not come across this pattern before. As I said, it's the Musselburgh hat. It's by Isolde Teague, and you basically knit a giant kind of sock. So you start by casting on at the point with like a pinhole kind of cast on, and then you do increases. Then you knit a giant tube, and then at the other end you do decreases like you would on a normal hat. And then you fold the hat, you tuck the hat into itself, which I now can't do because I'm all fingers. Go back in, there we go. So you tuck the hat back into itself so that you're in your cast on point and your kind of decrease point meet. Neaten it up slightly, there we go. And then you can fold up the brim. You can do this with obviously any kind of yarn. What I did is I had 30 grams of this self-striping colourway left over. This is my Mycelium colourway, and I thought this colourway would look really good in a hat, and it does. Self-striping works really well in hats, but I only had 30 grams of it, so I used it up completely, and then I just added a light grey for the other side. Which works quite well because then when you turn the cuff up, you get a sort of a contrast cuff, basically. Cuff? Brim? That's the word I want, isn't it? When you turn the brim up. So yeah, there we go. One Musselburgh hat. It's quite a nice size, actually. I was a little bit worried because Arthur tried it on when I first finished it, and it fit him beautifully. And I thought to myself, oh, that's never going to fit my head if it fits you. But actually, it's not a bad size at all, and it'll be quite cosy because obviously it's double thickness anyway, plus once you've folded up the brim you've kind of got 4 layers over your ears. So yeah, I think I'll be knitting another one because Tom wants one. He says he wants one in my Cujo colourway, which is not that one, that one. Yeah, he wants one in the Cujo colourway, in this one. So I'm going to do it in DK so it's even thicker. One of the nice things about this pattern, if I can get that back in there, one of the nice things about this pattern is that the way it's designed, you take your gauge, you work out your gauge as you're casting on. So you can do it with any weight of yarn basically, and it is all written into the pattern to be able to work out your stitch count and stuff based on any weight of yarn and any gauge. So it's quite clever like that. I did find it was a little bit overwhelming at first when I was first trying to work out what I was supposed to be doing and work out what needle size I wanted and things like that, because I feel like you kind of need a little bit of knowledge about what needle size you would generally use for like a 4-ply weight hat, in order to kind of know where to start. But once you've kind of got the fabric you like, then you can do it with anything, basically. Did that make any sense at all? I hope it did. But yeah, it's an interesting pattern, and it works really well. It creates a really clever hat. Anyway, I've rambled now. So that's that one. Second finished object. I've also got 2 more finished objects, and I'm now thinking I wasn't organised enough to get sock blockers. Can I reach sock blockers? Yes, I can. Oh, which have somehow managed to get them. There we go. So I told you I was rusty. Not professional here at all today. So I finished a couple of pairs of socks because I was having this feeling like I just felt like I hadn't got any knitting done. So in the end, I decided I would just sit down and pick one project that was really simple and quite small, so it had that instant gratification kind of feeling to it. And I picked up a pair of socks. So I picked up the socks that I've been knitting out of the Stylecraft commercial sock yarn. Oh, I've picked up the small sock blocker, so the sock looks massive on it, but oh well. So I picked up these socks. So I do have a pair, the other one's just there. And I was knitting these out of, it's the Stylecraft Head Over Heels. The Stylecraft Head Over Heels, which is a commercial sock yarn. And this is the Kilimanjaro colourway. And it's a 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon. I do love it. I do enjoy a commercial sock yarn. I enjoy wearing socks made with commercial sock yarn. I like how they feel on my feet. But yeah, I have got a pair finished. These were some really good kind of reading knitting. Perfect project to knit along with while I was reading my book. And that's one pair of socks finished, which was quite nice. And then having finished that pair, I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm just going to sit down and finish another pair of socks because I've got a few pairs of socks and I've been itching to cast on some new socks, but I was refusing to do that until I'd finished some. So I then sat down and finished off my Halloween socks, which if you are a regular viewer, you'll know because I've shared them. I've been knitting on them since Halloween. So in fact, I've been knitting on them since before Halloween. So they've been around a while, to be fair. But these are the a bit of Hocus Pocus. Is it called a bit of Hocus Pocus? A little Hocus Pocus. These are the A Little Hocus Pocus socks, which is a free pattern on Ravelry by Handmade Life. And they're a fun kind of, they're plain on the back and most of the leg, and then they've got this little cable detailing down the leg, which I think is supposed to look kind of, the idea is, if it would stop focusing on my face, the idea is that it kind of looks like pumpkins down the leg. So there we go. And I knit these using Green Lambkin yarns in one of her Halloween colourways. Suzanne of Green Lambkin yarns is the queen when it comes to Halloween colourways. And this is her Jelloween colourway. So there are Suzanne's details. And yeah, the colourway is Jelloween. And I don't know if it'll come across on the camera. I'm not sure how well the sparkle is showing. But they are very, very sparkly. I added, the contrast is just a random mini that I happened to have, which went ridiculously well with this yarn. So it almost looks like it was designed to go together. But it was a complete coincidence that I just happened to have this mini lying around. And there are two. They are left and right socks. So you have the cabled edge is on opposite sides of the sock. So when you're wearing them, they're on, I guess you wear it so it's on the outside of your foot. So you do have a right and left sock. But there we go. That is a pair of patterned socks finished, which means I can now start another pair of patterned socks, which I've been itching to do for ages. If you watch regularly, you'll know that because I was talking about it months ago. But I've only just now finally finished these ones. But that's my plan. I can't actually remember off the top of my head which pattern I picked, to be honest. I have a feeling it's one of the Helen Stewart ones from one of her Handmade Sock Society collections from a few years ago, but I can't quite remember which one I went with. And I won't share it with you this week because I haven't actually cast it on yet anyway. But it is all ready. It's all in a bag. It's all ready to go. And I will be casting them on pretty soon. I've been working on a little something else which has taken a lot of my attention this week, so once I've kind of finished that, I will cast on the new socks. I've also put aside a skein of commercial sock yarn. I've caked up a skein of commercial sock yarn ready to cast on another pair of commercial vanilla socks as well, because they're really good kind of mindless reading knitting. Okay, so that is finished objects. So what was the next thing? Samples. I was going to share all the samples that I had made for East Anglia with you, because although I didn't knit them, they are some amazing patterns and I just want to share those patterns with you as well. So we'll start, I'm just going to do them in the order that they are on here. We'll start with the smaller ones and move our way up to the bigger ones, I guess. So first of all, I had these gorgeous socks made. They're blowing out slightly in the light, unfortunately. I wonder if I can, whoops, knock the camera. Let's do that. Am I going the right way? There we go. I think that's a bit better. So these are the Love and Patches socks, which is a pattern by Danielle George, who is Little Bobbins. And aren't they gorgeous? They're really pretty. I kind of want to knit a pair myself now, because obviously I've not knit any of these patterns. But yeah, I kind of want to knit a pair myself. They look really fun to knit. And these were knit out of my Beatrix Potter mini skeins. So we used 5 of the colours, 5 of the 6 Beatrix Potter minis in these socks. Oh, I've gone the wrong way again now. There we go. We're going to stop there. I'm not going to talk about who knit them for me, because not only will I stumble over names and forget who's done what and things like that, but I also haven't asked permission to share people's names on the podcast and things. But just know, if you knit any of these samples for me, I am exceptionally grateful, and I love them all, and they are all amazing, and you are all amazing. So yeah, Love and Patches socks by Danielle George. And then we have another pair of socks. So these are the Bilbo socks. I came across this designer and these patterns when I was looking for patterns for the Hobbit collection. So these are the Bilbo socks, which are a fantastically fun cabled sock with the cables all the way down there. I might actually pop this one off so you can see. Oh, except I've attached the label so that the sock won't come off the sock blocker. There we go. So they're the Bilbo socks. They're by a designer called Claire Ellen, who has a whole range of cabled kind of, well, not all cabled, but a whole range of geeky sock patterns, which are brilliant. So they are really fun and cabled, these ones, and obviously inspired by Bilbo Baggins, so I couldn't resist getting them knit in the Bilbo colourway. But they are brilliant. So this is my Bilbo Baggins colourway and the Bilbo socks. Then we had, again, the same designer but a different pattern. I'm just going to try and get these back on the sock blocker so that they're nice and put away. So this one is the Gollum socks. This is such an intricate pattern, and the person who knit this did say it's not the most beginner friendly pattern, which, considering these cables, is not surprising. But how amazing are these cables? And it has up the back, again, I'm going to take this off the blocker because it doesn't do it justice showing you on the blocker, but I love the back of this sock. Up the back of the sock, the cables have holes. Can you see? How cool is that? And then this is the back of the heel. It's such a fascinating pattern. It's really cool. So I need to get my act together and have a little look at the patterns again, because she's got a whole load of Lord of the Rings one as well. So when I release the next kind of colours in these collections going into the Lord of the Rings books, I might have to get some more of her patterns knit up into samples for some of the Lord of the Rings characters. She's got there's definitely like Legolas socks and things like that. I can't quite remember off the top of my head all of them, but yeah, they are the Gollum socks. Right, that's all the socks. We've then got a couple of pairs of mitts. So again, this is another really good free pattern on Ravelry. And these are the My Cup of Tea mitts, which are just a really fun, simple kind of pattern. It's got this kind of textured, it's not quite lace, but it is lace, because it's kind of lace without holes, but it's, I don't know, I don't quite know what to call it. It's kind of, well, you can make your mind up what you want to call it. There's probably an official name for it that I don't know, but they're really cool, and they're great little mitts. Yeah, so these are the My Cup of Tea mitts, which is a pattern by Fluffy Fibres. and they are a free pattern on Ravelry. And the yarn we used for this one was Samuel Whiskers. Then we've got the Indira mitts, which are these ones here. This is a pattern by Vanessa Smith Designs, and in fact, the next one as well is this one here, woo, which is the Indira cowl. I haven't blocked this yet, but this is the Indira cowl. So these are actually a matching pattern. You can do mitts and cowl. I believe there might be a hat as well. I'm not 100% sure. But these are both used with 4-ply held together with mohair, but we used the Suri alpaca fluff, which I much prefer to mohair. It doesn't set off my allergies, but they're a fun cabled mitt. They've got this lovely texture on the front as well, which is really, really nice. And for the mitts, we used Peter Rabbit held with just an undyed fluff. And then for the cowl, we used Deep in the Woods held with a dark green fluff, which I called Fern. And again, with this one, you've got the cabled edging. It's got that same kind of texture pattern across the body, and then you've got the cable panel at the bottom, and then a bit of rib to kind of finish it off as well. So super cozy and really lovely. So yeah, that's the Indira cowl and the Indira mitts by Vanessa Smith Designs. And then we get into some shawls. So we have got the Life on Sundays shawl, which is this one here, which is a pattern by Vera Valimaki. And we used the White Wizard and Don't Leave the Path, two of my Hobbit colourways for this one. I really like how these worked together really, really nicely in this shawl. So that is that one. Then we've got the Waru shawl. So this is the pattern that Ali crocheted for me, which has just won her a prize. So this is the Waru shawl, and oh, I've forgotten to look up the designer of the Waru shawl. I will make sure it's down in the show notes below. But it's a gorgeous crocheted pattern. We did the large version, which is 4 skeins of yarn, but we only used 3 skeins of yarn, and we repeated, so we had 3 colours, so Jemima Puddle Duck at the top, Flamingo here, and then Pie and Patty Pan at the bottom. But we repeated Jemima for section 3 as well. So it goes Jemima, Flamingo, Jemima, Pie and the Patty Pan. But it's a lovely, good sized shawl. So that is that one. And then we've got the Ava shawl or the Ava shawl. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. It's AAVA. By Sarah R, which is this one here. It's a nice little shawl, triangular shawl, and it uses like little mini skeins, five little mini skeins, to make those fun little contrasty eyelet sections. So we used Pebble for the main colour, and then we used 5 of the Hobbit minis. So you've got What's It Got in Its Pockets is Bilbo Baggins, The Long Lake, Bjorn Shape Changer, and Don't Leave the Path. And it has tassels. It has tassels. Tassels are always a winner. So yeah, that's that one. And then there's 3 more, but they are all the same colour. So my my Sunset Fade kit, which was originally the Winter Sunset Fade kit, which was part of the 12 Days of Christmas last year. So it's 12 10-gram mini skeins in a fade, like that. And I've had this knit up on in the Storm's End cowl, which is my pattern. So that is this one here. There we go. And I've also had it made up into the Giddy Quinn cowl, which is a crochet cowl pattern by Sophie of A Spring Snowflake. So that is that one there. I love how it works in this pattern, and how we repeated in the opposite direction. It worked so nicely. And then just for something a little bit different, I also had it made up, again using Pebble as the grey. Just make sure I'm not holding this backwards. How do I tell if I'm holding it backwards? I can't work out which is the right side and which is the wrong side. Isn't that funny? Wow. Can't even find any ends that have been woven in, which, considering this is made with mini skeins, is pretty impressive. I'm like, where are the ends? How do I know which is the right way around? I think this is the front. Anyway, so this, I'm going to have to go back a bit. Hang on, let's see if I can get this in shot. It's quite big. This is the Rainbow Wings shawl by Mina Phillips, Knitting Expat Designs. And it's designed to be made with 12 10-gram minis. So it's quite a long, thin shawl. And you've got this massive section of colour at this end. And then it's got kind of that central point there, and then it's got a smaller side this side with a thinner stripe of all the colours. But isn't it gorgeous? It's such an effective shawl. I love the way it looks, and I love the way these colours worked in it as well. So it's a brilliant shawl to use kind of a 10-gram minis, and it works so beautifully with a fade as well. So I'm so pleased with how this one worked up. So there we go. Those are all the new samples that I had made for East Anglia. I am going to be in the next, I don't know, I need to get my head around a few bits and pieces, but I am, in the next month or so, I am going to be sorting out some more samples, because I've got some new collections launching a little bit later. Just reset that lighting bit. There we go. I've got some more collections launching a little bit later in the year, so I'd like to get a few samples made to show those off as best as possible. So I will be putting out a call again at some point in the next month or so. If you're interested, I will make sure I pop, basically the way I do it for sample knitters is I have an email newsletter list that you can sign up to, and there'll be a link to that below the video. When you initially sign up, you'll get an automated email that will come out explaining how it all works. And then when I'm ready to look for sample knitters for specific projects, what I will do is I will send out a newsletter to just that newsletter list with details of all the projects that I'm looking for, that I want to be knit or crocheted. And then you respond to that email to get back in touch with me and say, yes, I'd love to do this one. And I do it on a first come, first serve basis. So if you don't manage it this time, then unfortunately I've had lots of replies or something like that, you know, so it's just the easiest way for me to manage it. And I pay in yarn, basically. So the way it works is whatever you make for me, as soon as I get it returned to me, then I will send you a gift card for my website of roughly the equivalent value. So if you used 100 grams skein, then you get a £20 gift card. So it's a roughly equivalent value, rounded up slightly, which you can then spend on the website whenever you want, basically. It worked really well this time. It was really, really easy. So yeah, that's it. If you want to sign up to be a sample knitter for the future, then the link will be down below in the description box. Oh, I'm talking a lot today. Right. That's two things I wanted to talk about. We've done finished objects and we've done samples. Should we move on to some works in progress? I only have a couple of works in progress to share with you. So the first one I was going to show you is my Mild Magic shawl, which I have made a little bit of progress on. Not as much as I would have liked, to be honest, but a little bit of progress. I don't think I put a progress keeper in to show you where I was last time. So this is a pattern by Stephen West, and at the moment it doesn't look like much. It's a bit hard to kind of see the visual for how it's going to end up. But I started with this section here, which when it's blocked out is kind of like a big eyelet-y section. And And the way this shawl works is you hold 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn together throughout the whole project. But he gives you kind of guidance on how to manage your colours and things. So we've got like a clear stripe. So I've got one colour going all the way through this with the stripes of colours held with it. And then I'm on section 2 at the moment, which is this moss stitch or seed stitch section here. And this is more of a, what did he call this one? A mild fade, I think he called it. So you're always holding 2 colours together, but you start with kind of holding colour 1 and 2, and then 2 and 3, and then 3 and 4, and then 4 and 1, and then 1 and 2, if that makes sense. So you're always, one of the colours is always held for 2 sections. So that's how it's been going on. But I've got to the point now where what I'm going to do for the end of it is I'm actually, instead of doing 4 rows with each colour, I'm going to do 8 rows with each colour. So they're just going to get slightly wider as we go up a little bit further. But what is really fun about this pattern is that it marls so many colours together. It's great for using with scraps and stuff. So I basically have a basket full of all kinds of different scraps of yarn, partial skeins, little minis, you know, skeins that have just been lying around and things like that. And what I did is I went through and I drew out all within a kind of similar colour palette. So I've gone for kind of blues, turquoises, teals and purples. So hopefully the whole thing will have kind of a colour palette to it, but they'll all go together and there won't be too much clashing and things like that. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's coming out so far, and I just need time. I just need to keep working on it, don't I? It will be, everything I do is a slow project because finding the time to really focus on something is hard sometimes, but I am really enjoying that. And actually the moss stitch or seed stitch, the 1x1, so it's basically a 1x1 rib, is mindless enough that I'm managing to do it while I'm knitting. No, of course I'm managing to do it while I'm knitting. I'm managing to do it while I'm reading, which is always a good thing for me because it means I don't have to make a choice between reading and knitting. So that's that one. Now, the other work in progress that I wanted to share with you is a slightly odd one. So if you've watched the podcast for a while and you've watched our Vlogmas and you've chatted, you've seen Tom on there as well, my husband, you'll know that a few years ago, probably during COVID, I taught him to knit, and he did a bit of knitting. He knit 2 hats, he knit a cowl, then he decided to knit a jumper for Arthur. And he knit. We picked a flax light because we thought it's the flax light patterns by Tin Can Knit. That whole simple collection by Tin Can Knits is brilliant for new knitters, anyone trying a project for the first time. There's a whole range of projects in it. There's socks, jumpers, cardigans, mittens, hats. There's a whole range of different patterns. They're all free, and they also all have links to tutorials throughout the video, so that if you're not sure how a certain part of a pattern works, you can go and follow the links and see the tutorials. So we started them off with a flax light. We're using, what are we using? I don't even know. Drops Baby Merino, which is like their 4-ply, that's not focusing, there you go, Drops Baby Merino, which is a 4-ply 100% merino wool. It's a slightly weird yarn. I don't know quite how to describe it. If you've ever used it, you'll know what I mean about it being a slightly weird yarn. But we've used it before for projects for the boys, and do you know what? It knits up really nicely and it washes really well. So it seemed like a good option. And he knit the entire body of this. He knit up the body, he did all the increases and everything like that. He planned his little design that he was going to do. And then he started a sleeve and he got to about there on the sleeve and he hasn't picked it up since. And he was knitting it in the age 7 to 8 with the intention for Arthur to wear it. Arthur is now 9.5. It's not going to fit Arthur, But if I finish it off, which I've been doing, I have picked it up, I have carried on the sleeve. All I need to do is knit the 2 sleeves. I think I'm probably a couple of inches away. I don't know how far, maybe 4 inches or something away from the end of this sleeve. And then I just need to do the second sleeve. Then Jasper will be able to wear it. If I do it now, it will be the right size to fit Jasper and it won't go to waste. So yeah, I am going to get this finished off so that Jasper can wear it. And I have picked it up and I've knit most of a sleeve. There was, if you look closely at it, which I'm not sure if it's going to really show up on the camera, probably not. If you look very closely at it, you can tell where I'm a tighter knitter than Tom. And I picked it up to start with and it's a lot more dense, and then I had to switch to larger needles to carry on at kind of roughly the similar gauge that he was knitting at. But that's not a problem. It's going to be fine. Once it's blocked out, you won't really notice that difference at all. So yeah, that's my second work in progress. I am going to finish this jumper for Jasper, hopefully before he turns 7. I've got till November for that, and I need to knit 2 sleeves. It should be okay. And yeah, but yeah, Tom's not knit a stitch since, so Sleeve Island clearly finished him off. But yeah, that's all I've really been working on, apart from finishing off those socks, obviously, and a couple of new things that I've cast on. That is pretty much all I've been working on. But we'll move on then to some new cast-ons. So I do have 2 new cast-ons. The first one is a jumper. We have got a little bit over in the Discord group. We've got a little bit of an informal garment knit-along running over in the Discord group there. So it inspired me to cast on a new garment, which I have done. I haven't got very far, as always. But I have cast on, have I cast on? Is it the summer sorrel or I think I've cast on a summer sorrel. Let me double check. Yes, I have. I've cast on a summer sorrel, which I have a black and white picture of, I think. Here we go. So this is the summer sorrel. So it's, I'm probably going to do, I don't know what I'm going to do sleeve length wise. I might do longer sleeves. We will see. We'll see how I go, basically. But it's coming on a little bit. It's coming on. I'm knitting it. We'll see. I'm this far, basically. So I have cast it on and I have started doing the kind of patterned bit. It has all these crazy kind of drops. I don't even know what to call them. These crazy kind of dropped stitches, which create the texture along the rib. Along the yoke. I think it's one of those things that once I get further down, it'll all make sense. They space further apart as you get further down. So they start off at this point, it's quite hard to see because they're really close together. But as we get further down the yoke, they get wider apart, so they're clearer. And then you flip the body. Once you've finished the yoke, and I assume once you've separated for the sleeves, I'm not 100% sure, you turn it inside out to carry on working. So although the main body is reversed stocking stitch, you don't purl it the whole way. You turn it inside out, so you are actually just knitting the body all the way, which is really good because there's no way you're going to get me to purl an entire jumper. I'm using yarn I bought this yarn. This is the only sweater's quantity of yarn I have ever bought. I bought it from from Edinburgh Yarn Festival, the last Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It must have been 2018 or 2019, I'm not sure. And it is, I don't know I can never get how to pronounce it, Fru Valborg. I bought it from the Stephen and Penelope stall at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It is one of the most kind of luxurious purchases I've ever made for myself. It's in the colourway Purple Mania. And I have got 4 skeins. I feel like I think I have only got 4 skeins. But they are gorgeous. It's just this gorgeous kind of speckledy purple colour. Which I think will work really nicely in this pattern. So yeah, hopefully I will get a little bit more worked on this. It's unfortunately, it's at that point where it's one of those things I really need to do when I'm concentrating, when I've got time to concentrate. So it's kind of a weekend project really, when everybody's occupied and we've got like a couple of hours where I can just sit at the dining table, I can put something on my laptop and I can just knit on this with the instructions kind of right next to me. It's that kind of project. Usually in the evenings I'm too tired, I don't have the headspace to knit on something that involves really closely following a pattern. So yeah, this is kind of going to be a bit of a weekend project, or if I've got a slightly lighter work day where I can stop working once the kids get home from school and I can sit and do a bit of knitting then it might get worked on then. But the other project that I've been working on, the other new cast on, is a gnome. Now I'm assuming my camera will automatically flip that round so that you can read it. Hopefully, otherwise that'll be backwards. Usually it does, I'm sure it does. I've not really thought about that actually. I'm pretty sure it automatically flips it round so that you can read it. I started one of the Grimblewood gnomes, which is a new set of patterns released by Sarah of Imagine Landscapes. So it is Neil of Grimblewood. So there he is, that's what he looks like. I've only got black and white pictures, but that's what he looks like. He is super quick. I only cast this on Monday, I think. Maybe Sunday evening or Monday, I'm not sure. And I very nearly finished the body. Here he is. So I'm at the point now where I need to stuff the body and then start the decreases for the bottom. So he's going to be a little stubby gnome. He's very cute. I just literally grabbed some scraps out of my stash. I made sure that each of them was at least just more than 20 grams. I don't need a lot for this gnome. He's only small. So I grabbed 2 greys, a dark grey and a light grey. The light grey will be the beard. A kind of dark pinky, I don't know, dark pinky burgundy colour. And then this kind of speckled pink here as well. And then I've done the hat in the darker pink. The stripes I've done in the dark grey and that speckled lighter pink. And then, as I said, the beard will be in the light grey, which I think will work really well. He has a little button. I haven't found a button yet. I need to dig out a button from my sewing box. But his little loop, you have a little button that gets sewn onto his hat, and then the loop comes down and sits over the button. And then obviously you sew the end in and fix it down. So I'm going to do that. I'll probably do that. I should probably do that actually before I stuff him, shouldn't I? So I will dig out a button. I'll do that tonight. But yeah, I have a gnome in progress. So yeah, you'll be hearing quite a lot more about gnomes, I think, in the next few weeks. But that's all I shall say for now. Yeah, so that's all of my knitting that I've been working on. I have picked up my cross stitch. I am behind on the cross stitch. If you're new, I bought the Caterpillar cross stitch, Great British Isles Adventure, I think it's called, which is kind of a mystery stitch along. So basically it works over 6 months, and each month you get a new part of the pattern revealed, and the whole thing will create it creates a picture of the British Isles using lots of little cross-stitch images. And I did January, and I'm now working on February. I've nearly finished the February ones. The March ones are already here, and the April ones will be coming in the next week or so, I would imagine. But I have picked this back up again. I was hoping to keep up with it, but of course, March went crazy, so everything stopped. But here we go. This is where we are at so far. So the new ones for February are, we've got the windmill, Buckingham Palace, the bow and arrow, the football, the sheep, whatever this little person is, and then I'm now just working on this, which is a rugby ball. And we've got a daffodil and a dragon that comes into this one as well. So yeah, I've been getting on with it slowly. I've been quite enjoying it. I really am enjoying the fact that this is lots of little things. So it's quite nice to just kind of sit down and go, okay, right, well, I'm going to do the windmill. And then I finish the windmill and that's great. I can move on to doing something else. It's got that kind of quick little satisfaction again, that kind of instant gratification feeling of just sitting down and finishing one little picture. It makes it less overwhelming somehow. But yeah, I'm really enjoying how this is coming together. So there we go. Right, that is all of my kind of crafting content stuff, if that makes sense. I was going to talk now a little bit about the podcasters, just quickly about the podcasters that I met at East Anglia Yarn Festival, so that you can all find their channels if you would like to. And then we will go on to some Yarny Goodness. I've got a fair bit of Yarny Goodness to share because it's been nearly 2 months. And then I'll finish off with the shop news at the end as well. So, East Anglia Yarn Festival, do you know, it was a brilliant show. I had so much fun. I was really, really tired. If you met me at East Anglia, I don't know whether that was noticeable or whether I got away with it and people didn't realise, but like the lead up to the show was chaos, absolute chaos. I had, so much to do and so much just got in the way. So by the time I got to the show, I was exhausted. It's a really long drive. It's like a 9-hour drive as well. And although I had company, I did drive it all. So by the time Saturday came round, I was just exhausted. I never sleep well the night before the show. So Friday night, I didn't sleep well. And then, I could barely string sentences together. And I mean, you know what I'm like anyway. I stumble over my words most of the time when I'm talking, just in general. But I could barely string sentences together. So I really hope it didn't come across as me being, I don't know, rude or anything like that. I'm hoping people realised that I was just that tired that I didn't make any sense. But it was really busy on the Saturday. It was a fantastic show. It was a really great weekend. If you met me on the Sunday, I was feeling slightly more human then, so I was making slightly more sense. But I sponsored the podcaster lanyards. Which means that everybody who had signed up to be an official podcaster for the show, anyone could do it. And in future years, I'm sure it'll be the same, knowing Laura. Anyone can do it. It doesn't matter if you are only on episode 1 and you have 3 people watching you, or if you are on episode 1000 and you have 1 million people watching you. It doesn't matter what size of podcast you are. If you have a podcast, you can get in touch with Laura and you can sign up to be an official podcaster. You don't get anything for it. You don't get free tickets. You don't get free entry or anything like that. But what you do get is a lanyard that marks you out as a podcaster. It gives you permission to film at the event. It gives you permission to use whatever you've filmed elsewhere, sort of on your YouTube channel and stuff like that. It also marks you out to vendors, to other podcasters, to other people attending. It marks you out as a podcaster. So it opens up those conversations about, what is your podcast and things like that, which is always really nice. And they also do a podcaster meetup each day where all the podcasters can get together and meet each other, which is lovely. I was really lucky because of where my position was. I was right next to where the podcaster meetup happened, which was brilliant because it was so busy on Saturday. I would have struggled to kind of get away to attend the meetup if it hadn't been right by my stall. But I did get away to attend the meetup on Saturday, and there were, I'm going to count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 podcasters. No, 9 podcasters that attended the meetup. So first of all, there was Ellie at Craft House Magic, who I have watched for years. She is one of the podcasts that I always go to watch. She is absolutely lovely. And she was there with her husband Adam and her little boy Jensen. So it was really that's not a word, really cute to meet Jensen for the first time. Then there is Fran, who is Franny Do Makes here on YouTube. She's a relatively newer podcaster, but I've been hooked. Like she's now one of the podcasts that I go to straight away. Absolutely lovely, really friendly. She's over in the Discord channel as well. So that's lovely. There is Becky, who is Becky Knits here on YouTube. Again, a relatively new podcaster. I'd not met them before, but they were lovely, and I'm now hooked on their channel as well, and will become a regular viewer. There is Martin of Knit365, who I'm sure you will have heard of. He's a relatively well-known podcaster. Very good friends with my good friend Jem at The Little Grey Girl. They recently did a big collaboration together. So it was really nice to kind of get to know him a bit more this weekend. Then there is Karen from Stitches and Jacks, who I've met before. And I met on the Saturday, and do you know, this was the point where my brain was starting to kind of not work. I've definitely met Karen before, and she came up and she said hello, and I was like, it took me a minute. It took me a minute to spot the podcaster lanyard and realise who she was, and I felt very embarrassed. But Karen is lovely, and yeah, Stitches and Jacks here on YouTube. Then there was Linda, who is Linda Simpson Designs, who I'd never met before. I hadn't come across, I hadn't heard of, but I will definitely be checking out her channel in the next few weeks. And the same of Jill, who is Meow Crafts. Again, another podcast that I hadn't heard of before, and I'm gonna go and check out at some point in the next few weeks. And also there is Davina of Little Workroom Craft. So again, like Stitches and Jacks, is another podcast that I've heard of. I've heard it mentioned, but I've never really sat down and watched properly. But she was lovely. So yeah, I will, again, so many podcasts, so little time. I will be finding some time to sit down and watch some of those ones that I've not heard of. And then finally, of course, there was Ali, who is Little Drops of Wonderful and This Wonderful Life, who we've chatted on social media and across YouTube and stuff like that for years. And Ali's vlogs are like my dream of what my vlogs could be. And if Ali is watching this now, I'm going to be really, really, really embarrassed. But like, Ali's vlogs are like my pinnacle. That is what I would love my vlogs to be. I am in awe of everything that she does across both of her YouTube channels. And I just think that, yeah, she does such a good job with her editing and the way she does everything. So it was so lovely to meet Ali in person for the first time, and to meet Dan as well. So yeah. If you've not checked any of them out before, I will make sure I put links underneath the video, so you can find all of their videos on YouTube. And it was just lovely to meet so many other podcasters as well. I think I remembered everyone. Ellie Craft House Magic was the one I didn't put on the list, mostly because, if you're watching this, Ellie, I completely stole the list of people from your vlog because I didn't write everyone's names down and I knew you had. So thank you for that. Right, so there we go. That is all the podcasters. I love finding new podcasters, so I hope that was okay. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's move on, shall we, to some Yarny Goodness. The bin men are just going past, so hopefully it's not too loud. So my office at the moment is chaos because my in-laws are here. Tom and I are sleeping in the office. We've got a sofa bed that pulls out, which is one of the advantages of having had the garage converted into this room, is that we now have a spare bedroom, whereas we didn't have before. But when the sofa bed is pulled out, it does like halve the amount of space that I've got in my office. So although I have piled loads of stuff on top of the bed at the moment, I am still surrounded by boxes and it is absolute chaos. So trying to find somewhere to put everything for the podcast was a bit of fun. So the Yarny Goodness has ended up in a random cardboard box, which I don't even remember what was shipped to me in it, but it was a good size. And I thought, you know what, I'll keep this one because if I need to send out a couple of bigger orders, then it might be useful to put it in because I'm that person who keeps cardboard boxes. But anyway, there are a few things in here. So let's start with clubs. I'm signed up to do the Spectrum Fibres Yarn Club this year, who is Bryony. And I've got February and March's clubs that I haven't shown you yet. So if you've not received your March one, which you should have done by now because it's nearly the end of April, then look away. But this one was February's. This is an absolutely spectacular bright pink. This is getting washed out on the camera, but actually that is not far off the true colour. It is a really bright pink. And this is called I Dream in Neon Pink. And it is absolutely beautiful. And then this one is March, which is called Patisserie Daydream. Isn't that gorgeous? And actually, they work really nicely together. I kind of want to grab out the January one, actually, and see if it works with these as well. And whether that could go into something, I'm not sure, but I just know from Bryony, I know that all of these colours are going to be gorgeous throughout the whole year. So I'm excited to see where this club goes. I'm thinking I'm not going to do anything with them until I've got them all, and then I can work out kind of what they go together as for projects and stuff next year. But they are both gorgeous. And then me and Erin at Henny Penny Makes are swapping clubs this year. So we're swapping our minis club. So she's having a set of my fantasy minis and I'm having a set of her mini lovers club. Although she's adding me, her mini lovers club is 4 minis instead of 5. So she's adding me in an extra variegated each month. And my plan is to make some kind of blanket with them, but I haven't quite worked out what blanket I'm going to make yet, or anything like that. But it's definitely going to be a gorgeous rainbow blanket. So this is February's set. So February's are all reds, and then this is March's set, which are all oranges. So yeah, that's those ones. But you can imagine this in a blanket, can't you? It would be gorgeous. I just need to decide kind of what I'm going to do, I think. I'm not sure yet. We will see. Not casting on another new blanket at the moment. Hold me to that. And then I've got a couple of other skeins, which I ordered a couple of skeins from Laura at The Lonely Knitter, her Doctor Who collection. I ordered these 2 skeins from her Doctor Who collection. So the top one here, this is Weeping Angels. And then the bottom one is The Master. I don't know what these are going to become. At some point, originally I was kind of thinking I might put them together in a project. But I'm not sure if I am going to, or whether I might make some socks with the Master and use that. I mean, that'll go with so many colours in bigger projects. So I'm not sure yet, but they are both gorgeous and I love them. And then there's a few bits that I bought at East Anglia. I didn't buy a lot at East Anglia, to be honest, because I was so busy and I was so tired. I kind of didn't have the headspace to shop particularly. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I bought that isn't here. I'm sure there is, but I can't think off the top of my head. I bought yarn from Hannah at the Corner of Craft. Did I buy yarn from any? Oh, yes, I did buy yarn. I did buy more. Right, I don't know where that is. And I've not cast it on yet. Okay, so there is. I bought it's 8 50-gram minis, 8 50-gram skeins in a fade from Pixie Yarn, which is absolutely gorgeous. I've already started caking it on because I'm going to make a So Faded sweater out of it. But it's all in a bag, put away for when I get a chance to cast it on. So I won't show you that now. I'll show you that when I actually cast it on. But then I also bought a skein of yarn from Hannah at the Corner of Craft. This is her DM's Guide skein, which she had a lot of the yarns from her Knittical Roll sock club for last year. And I went through and held this one up to quite a lot of them, which I already have because I did her yarn club last year. And it went with quite a few of them. So I thought this would be a really good one to kind of add to my collection of her yarns, because I'll be able to kind of pair them up into projects. And that's kind of, so that was kind of my thinking when I picked this one up. But it's also just gorgeous on its own. And then I also bought a lot of stitch markers from Troublemaker Designs, who were a new company, who I'd not come across before at all, but they make the most gorgeous kind of stitch markers and bits and pieces and postcards and things like that. And they had such a fun selection on their stall. It was really, really good and really fun. So I picked up a couple of postcards. I got this one, which is a to-do list postcard. To do, acquire yarn, squish yarn, I'm trying to read this backwards, squish yarn, make something, buy more patterns, repeat above, which felt very appropriate. So I'm going to pop this, I have, on my wall, I have my calendar for the year, which is one of the Tilly Flop yarn show calendars, and then around that I have a whole host of postcards and things like that stuck to the wall. Whenever I get a postcard sent to me by anybody, it usually goes up there. And I've also got kind of some random postcards and some little prints and stuff that I've bought myself, and so that's definitely going to be going up there now. And I also got this one, which I just loved. It's just that it's a little craft room, but there's dinosaurs on the shelves. Dinosaurs and yarn and books, and it's just perfect. So I loved that one and couldn't resist. And then I bought a lot of stitch markers. Right, hang on a second, because I'd forgotten I'd bought that as well. Hang on, right. Let's see if we can do this. So where's those ones? I also bought, before I go into the stitch markers, I'd forgotten about these actually, because they were tucked away in that bag, and it's been so long since Destanglia and I still haven't podcast, but I also picked up from Artistically Amber, I also picked up a pair of earrings, which are little skeins of yarn. I've got a few kind of yarn related earrings. I've got a pair of Maliqua earrings, I've got these ones, and then I've also got some glass sheep from Flame Knits. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop them all together in my yarn show box. So I've got some yarny themed earrings specifically to wear when I go to yarn shows. Because I ended up buying a couple of pairs of earrings this yarn show because I'd forgotten to take any with me. Oh, in fact, here they are. The Flame Knits sheep are in here. I'd obviously put them safe so that I could do that. Here are the little Flame Knits glass sheep, if my camera will focus. Give it a minute. Here it comes. There we go. You see them? So they're little glass sheep. They're really cute. So yeah, I'm going to be popping those safely in my show box, ready for the next yarn show. So I've got kind of yarn show themed earrings. Right, let's go back to the Troublemaker stitch markers, shall we? There's a fair few, but they're very fun. So, I've got avocado. I'm going to leave my hand there, so hopefully it will stay focused. I've got toast. I've got a fried egg. And these are all on the lever clasp ones, which are perfect for knitting and crochet. I love these. These are my favourite kind of progress keeper backing. What else do I have? I couldn't resist this, little shrink wrapped airheads. These are one of my favourite American sweets, airheads. You can't really get them in the UK, which is such a disappointment because they are absolutely my favourite. Yeah, amazing. I have a lollipop. I have a rubber duck because it's just really cute. I also have a games controller. Oh, turn around the right way. There we go. Little games controller. And then I've got a little sheep. Oh, little sheep. Super cute. A little octopus who is also super cute. And then finally, oh, my arm's aching holding it up there so long. Let's get these two. 2 D20s. How could I resist a couple of D20 stitch markers? So there we go. So yeah, that's all the things that I bought from Troublemaker. They had such a good, like, it was, the collection that they had there was incredible. I could have bought so many more, and I definitely will be buying stitch markers from them in the future because they were brilliant. And they've been sat there, they've been sat in a basket in my office waiting for me to podcast since the show. I've kept kind of everything separate. And when I opened them up this morning, it was such a little treat to kind of go back through the bag and be like, oh, I'd forgotten about that. So yeah, I'm excited to be able to actually start using these in projects. So there we go. That's all the Yarny Goodness. Right, the last thing, I promise, and then you can all go and get on with your days. I know, it's been a long one. I'm sorry. The last thing, my tea has also gone really cold. The last thing is a bit of shop news. So I'm going to put my notebook on my lap. Look how close I am to finishing this notebook. I've talked about this notebook before on the podcast, and here we go, going on a tangent. This notebook goes all the way back to podcast episode 1. I've used this for my podcast show notes since the beginning, pretty much. Look, I've even written stuff like, here you go, when I was talking about and introducing my podcast, why I was inspired to start the podcast. Back in, oh my goodness, it would have been it'd be 6 years, because Jasper was 3 months old when I started the podcast and he's now 6. So it was January 2017, I think. Maybe. Yeah, January 2017, I think it was. He was born in 2016, so yeah, it must be. Yeah, and now we're on episode 129, and the book is very, very nearly finished. We'll see. I might get a few more episodes out of it yet. Right, anyway, tangents, sorry. Shop news. What did I want to talk about shop news? Right, Beatrix Potter collection. I'm very aware that I didn't talk about it on the podcast at all because I haven't had time or chance to podcast since the Beatrix Potter collection stuff has been announced. I'm hoping I did enough of a job of announcing it and sharing it elsewhere. I did everything else I could, newsletters, social media, everything else I could to share it elsewhere. So I'm hoping everybody heard about it. But the pre-orders have now closed. I will have a few spare skeins going up in the shop in May once the pre-orders have all shipped. The collection was, it blew me away. The success of it was incredible. Definitely the biggest pre-order collection I've had to date. It's been amazing. I started dyeing it up yesterday. And I will be sharing more videos hopefully throughout the dyeing process. I'm planning to do some vlogs of like dye days when I'm dyeing up the Beatrix Potter stuff and when I'm doing kind of bits and pieces over the next few weeks. So you'll get to see it all. Hopefully I will be a bit more present here on YouTube. But yeah, thank you to anyone that's ordered from the Beatrix Potter collection. It's been absolutely incredible. And yeah, as I said, completely blown me away. I've also had questions about the Hobbit yarn and whether I will have any of the Hobbit yarns going in the shop. Obviously I did a pre-order for those earlier in the year. I do have spares. Let me see if I can show you. Basically, all of this here is spare Hobbit yarn, and I've got DK and some more other bases up here as well. So the answer is yes, there will be spares going in the shop. I'm just struggling to find the time to stock take it all and sort the listings out. At some point in April, hopefully, I will get those in the shop. Just need to keep a bit of an eye on social media. I'll announce it on social media when they go into the shop and things like that. If there's demand for it, I might open up a quick kind of, I don't know, a quick little pre-order, 24 hours, 48-hour pre-order or something, just for people to get bits that they've missed or still would like. But I need to make sure I'm on top of the Beatrix Potter stuff before I can do that, because I don't want to take on too much and then have everything go out late, basically. So the big thing I wanted to talk about was advent calendars. So I had initially announced that my advent calendars would be going up for pre-order on the 28th of April. That won't be happening now. They'll now be going up on the 5th of May. It's only a week later, but it will make a big difference to me. And the reason that my advent calendars are going up a little bit later is because unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's a good thing because it means that my business is doing well, but it's also terrifying. I am sitting very close to the VAT threshold, which, if you kind of don't have an understanding of how running a business works in the UK, basically there are two types of taxes that you can potentially pay. I pay income tax, which everybody who is employed and earns above a certain amount pays income tax, and that's based off your profits. But there is also, when you run a business, you also have the possibility of reaching a certain threshold. And once you have that amount of turnover, so turnover is the amount of money that comes into your business, regardless of expenses and profit, and like that's all irrelevant. It's only based on the amount of money that comes into your business. Once you hit a certain level of turnover, you have to pay 20% value added tax to the government. So basically, I'm trying really, really, really hard to stay below the VAT threshold at the moment, because I'm just kind of sitting a little bit below it, and I'm trying really hard to stay below it, because once I go above it, I'll go from paying 20% on my profits in tax to paying 20% on my profits and 20% on every single skein of yarn I sell, which will mean a massive, massive tax bill for me, but it will also mean a price increase for you, which I'm trying to avoid, obviously. But yes, so I mean, it's exciting that the business is doing that well, but I've talked to an accountant and we've kind of discussed it, and at the moment, kind of, we'll see how things go this year, but just trying to keep below that threshold is brilliant. The way it works is VAT is worked out on a rolling 12-month, but yeah, VAT is worked out on a rolling 12-month basis. So I can kind of work out, I've got a spreadsheet and everything that I've done with the tax, a spreadsheet that I've done with the accountant, which works out my VAT, works out my turnover on a month-by-month basis and does it as a rolling. So it lets me keep an eye on where my turnover is sitting within a 12-month period. And if I'm getting close to it, I can just kind of do what I've done this month and said, Beatrix Potter pre-orders went really, really well. Launching an advent in the same month is probably not a good idea. So I'll just delay it for a week. I hope that makes sense. I hope, it's all a complicated thing. And although it's really good that it means my business is doing really well, it's also just kind of finding that balancing point at the moment to not tip over into VAT, which will mean a lot of big changes, but also kind of, I've got so many new things and so much I want to share, and I've got the space for that now with the boys both at school, that I want to be able to do it all. So bit of a balancing act. Anyway, back to the advent calendars, because you don't want to hear me ramble about tax. Tax is like the most boring thing ever. So advents will be launching for pre-order on the 5th of May, 7:30 p.m. British summer time we're now in. On the 5th of May, I will be launching the pre-orders for my advent calendars. This year's advent theme is all inspired by A Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare. So you can join me, as I've written in my text, on a journey through A Midsummer Night's Dream, following along with the romance and the comedy that it entails. I've got my book. I should have my book. Where is he? It's sitting in here. Can I reach it without falling off my chair? That would be a comedy moment on the podcast, wouldn't it? No, I can't reach it without falling off my chair. Hang on, let's shuffle a bit closer. Here we go. I've got a really cute little copy of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So I will be basing the entire Advent off the characters and the events and all of that kind of thing that happened throughout the play. And I'm really excited about it. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be such a fun Advent calendar. I will pop up, I'll shuffle this way now. Good job, I've got a rolling chair, isn't it? I will pop up the inspiration image here. Well, it's more of a mood board than an inspiration image, but it gives you an idea, hopefully, of the colour story that the Advent calendar will entail. I'm not doing 6 mood boards with 24 different colours on them that show you full details of kind of the colours exactly that are going to be in the Advent calendar. I know that works for some people, but I like a bit of mystery with my Advent calendar, to be honest. I don't really want to know like every single colour that's going to be in there when I'm ordering. I want to keep that kind of mystery alive. So you've got a mood board here, which shows you kind of, it gives you an idea for the colour journey that I'm planning. It gives you an idea of kind of the mood and things like that. So hopefully that is enough. If you have any questions, then feel free to drop me a message. You can either email me at giddyyarns.com or drop me a message on Instagram or something like that, and I will try and answer your questions. The one thing I will say is I haven't dyed this yet. So although I know kind of in my head my plan for what I'm going to do, I can't say for definite that, yes, we will go from this colour to this colour to this colour and it will have exactly these colour speckles, because until I start to dye it, I don't know that. But as you will have seen from the mood board, it will be a fade. You might not have got that impression from the mood board, but it will be a fade. I'm not explaining this well at all, am I? It will be a fade. It will progress through those 6 colours that you see in the little squares on the mood board. And it's going to be, I'm aiming for kind of pastel coloured bases, and then it's going to have kind of speckles that give it pops of colour, which are kind of the images in the centre of the mood board give you an idea of the kind of coloured speckled pops, but they will fit along with the fade as well. So yeah, I have a vision in my head, and the mood board represents the vision in my head. Hopefully you're all as excited as me. So options. There are multiple base options. So I'm going to be offering the Advent on 10-gram minis and 20-gram minis. 10-gram will be available on just normal 4-ply, merino nylon 4-ply, but also available on sparkle, which is merino nylon and silver stellina. That'll be true of the 20-gram. So you'll be able to get 20-gram merino 4-ply, 20-gram merino nylon 4-ply, 20-gram sparkle, and then I'm also going to be offering it on 20-gram DK as well. So yeah, they're your choices basically. This year you will get the 24 mini skeins. They'll all be individually labelled. They'll all be individually wrapped in bags and numbers as always, so that you open them in order and the mystery isn't spoilt as the calendar arrives. And this year it will be packed in a custom printed bag. So similar to last year where I had the Giddy Yarns tote bag, you will have the Advent will be supplied in a bag. It will be a different style of bag and it will be printed differently. I have a plan for that. I know exactly which type of bag. I've had a load of samples arrive and I've picked the bag that I want to have printed, and I'm just working on the design that will be printed on it at the moment. But yeah, that is it. There's not going to be as many extras in it this year. Because I'm going for a kind of the high quality bag, and yeah, trying to keep the prices down. Trying to keep the prices down a little bit, even though like, oh, I don't know how to say this, yarn costs and stuff have increased, so reducing the extras means that I can keep the Advent prices similar to last year without increasing my prices a lot. Something like that is kind of what I'm trying to say. Yeah. what else do I need to say about the advent calendar? I'm really doing a really bad job not encouraging any of you to order this at all, am I? Payment plans. I will have payment plans available. What I will be doing is you will pay a quarter of the cost plus shipping in May. Then you will have you'll receive an invoice for another quarter, so it'll be 4 instalments in total. So quarter in May, quarter in June, July and August. And then you need to have paid by the end of August. Otherwise I will retain the initial quarter payment, so the deposit, and your order will get cancelled, basically. Although I've never had that happen. So far I've always had everyone pay their instalments. There will also, of course, be the option to pay for it completely upfront when you order, because I know some people do find that easier as well. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. The 10 gram advents will be £100 and the 20 gram advents will be £140. And they will all ship mid-October. I think that's everything. Yeah, I will shuffle this way again and put the mood board back up for you. So you can see the mood board for this year and get an idea of what I mean about the way that the fade will go through those 6 colours, and the speckles will be kind of representing the images there are representing kind of the pops of colour that I'm kind of planning through the speckles to some extent. It's an inspiration. It's not exactly what you'll get. Does that make sense? I don't really know how to explain it. It's in my head, that's the problem. But yeah, so that is the advent calendar. May 5th, 7:30 p.m. I'm hoping to keep the pre-orders open for the whole of May. It completely depends on how well they sell. That is the thing. I can't guarantee that they will still be open at the end of May, because if they suddenly sell a lot better than I'm expecting, then I will have to shut them earlier. I only have a certain number that I can do. If they are slower than I was expecting, last year they sold quite slowly, then I will still close them at the end of May, but I may, if I've got time and space, I may open up another pre-order later in the year, but that will be without the payment plan option. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. Right, last thing, because this is a ridiculously long podcast, and we need to be done, don't we? Stripes, self-striping. I will be having on the 12th of May, I will be having a big self-striping update. So it will include ready to ship stripes left over from East Anglia. There are a fair amount, but I will also, for the first time, I will be opening up pre-orders for any of my 5 stripe colourways. They will be limited. I have a number in mind. I'm pre-warping them, so I will have them all warped before the pre-order opens. So there will be a specific number that's available. But once those have, so there will be a specific number. They will be a limited number. It won't be a completely open pre-order like the Beatrix Potter was. But it will give you the opportunity, if there's colours you've missed out on in the past, then it will give you an opportunity to order those specific colours. So that will be opening up on the 12th of May, and they will ship at the end of June. That is the plan. So there we go. Thank you. If you're still here and you are still sitting and watching this podcast and you've made it all the way through to the end, then leave me some really, really random emoji in the comments section, because it will make me chuckle. And you deserve a high five. So thank you very, very much for watching. I promise future episodes will be back to a slightly shorter thing, and hopefully more regular than 2 months. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go make myself another cup of tea now to give my voice a chance to recover, and I will see you all hopefully very soon. Bye.